holiday programming, Another World is not available today, but will return to this time period in its proper sequence Monday, July 7th. In its place today, we present the following special program.
Next summer, I'm going to run across Canada.
No, you're not.
Yes, Mom, I am.
Terry, you're doing no such thing.
Mom, look, I'm not asking your permission. I'm telling you.
And I'm telling you that that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard, okay? You run it across.
You know, I knew you were going to say something like that to me. You don't understand anything I do. You don't even know why I run.
Go ahead, run! Run marathons, run across British Columbia.
George, you didn't
You've
see
got
the
all your
people
doctors
there.
here.
There's doctors everywhere.
You're in the middle of university. You've got your whole life to prepare for, so why on earth?
I'll tell you why. I want to help raise money to fight cancer.
Well, if you want to do something to fight cancer, you just stop pretending to forget your x-ray appointments, okay?
Well, I'm running whether you like it or not.
He was an unlikely hero. He lived like any other youngster in his community. In school, he was not much of an athlete. As a student, he had only average abilities. But he did have a couple of things going for himself: desire and determination to succeed. But then, at age 18, he suffered one of the worst tragedies that could happen to a kid: the loss of a leg to cancer. For most people, it would have been the end. But for him, it was the beginning of a dream to run across Canada, from Newfoundland to British Columbia, over 5,000 miles. Most people thought it would be impossible. But all he knew was that nothing was impossible if you gave it everything you had. His name was Terry Fox. There are lots of difficult decisions that go into making a movie. Probably the most difficult decision in the making of the Terry Fox story was who to cast in the role of Terry. Literally hundreds of actors were auditioned from all over North America.
Where am I going to run up to, Ralph? There's buckets there.
But who was finally chosen didn't come from a casting session at all, but in reply to a newspaper ad, almost at the producer's doorstep. He was Eric Fryer, 21 years old, and from Toronto. Not only was his physical resemblance to Terry uncanny, but Eric also suffered the tragedy of losing his own right leg to the very same cancer.
When you were taking the picture of me looking at that picture, I didn't want it to come across that, you know, when people see it, like my friends would go, unbelievable, because they know that I wouldn't be sitting there going, Terry Fox is my hero. I mean, I really can appreciate what he did, and I admire him. I think that the willpower involved with that boy was just absolutely incredible. There's no way on God's green earth I could do that.
Eric seemed ideal in every way,
but
except for the fact that he had never acted a day in his life.
What if, we'll just find this out, what if we started, instead of in the regular schedule on the 26th, started on the 25th?
Bringing together the elements of Terry's story in a dramatic and sensitive way is producer Robert Cooper. In choosing Eric Fryer to play Terry, he's made one of the most difficult and challenging decisions of his career.
Okay. What else have you got?
This one here.
I've still got
8 miles, okay? I guess I better move. Are you okay, Paul? And then, I understand.
I understand. Eric is real. That's both good and bad. It's bad from a technical point of view because it slows us down a bit. It's good because there will be pieces of film that you will never see anywhere else.
But it will be up to Ralph Thomas, director of the award-winning film Ticket to Heaven, to work with Eric Fryer and turn him into an actor.
I mean, Eric is real people. I mean, he's never acted before. And he works out of instinct. He works out of himself. And it's extraordinary. I see him do scenes in rehearsal, and I don't know what he's going to do. And afterwards, I'm saying to myself, well, you know, what do I want to do to correct that? And oftentimes, my problem is I can't deny anything he's done, because everything he's done has come from inside.
How does the leg work now?
It's fine. First couple of laps hurt. Takes a long time for my right leg to come through there. My left leg has to take all the stress.
Yeah.
Got a couple of blisters, too. But I did it. I ran a whole mile.
The first thing that struck me was not only were they lucky to get somebody who looked like Terry Fox, who'd been through the same experiences, they were extremely lucky because he was, I imagine a lot of other people will tell you this, and you can tell from looking at the movie, he's a natural actor. And in other words, he has the ability to imagine situations and to be able to express his feelings to people, which sounds incredibly simple, but it's a rare quality when it's done well. And he had that ability, and it was obvious from the start.
Getting Eric ready for the role involves much more than just teaching him how to act. He must also learn how to walk and run like Terry. To help him do that, he must be fitted with an artificial leg, just like the one Terry wore during his run.
Well, it's got a strap on the front here to make the leg, you know, snap back faster than a normal leg, and it's got the regular knee unit in it. This is the same type of leg they use to learn how to walk. Like, this is the same leg you get when you first go in there. When you first try on a leg, this is what it looks like.
Terry covered a grueling 26 to 30 miles every day. Fortunately for Eric, he won't need to run much more than a few miles during the entire filming.
Look at Eric and give him a big smile.
Eric Fryer will have all the status and responsibility of a bona fide movie star.
The first time someone asked me for my autograph, I just couldn't believe, you know, why would you want my autograph? I feel exactly the same. I mean, I'm making a film and stuff, but I'm still me, you know. I feel exactly the same. I don't feel like a movie star or anything like that, you know.
A typical day for Eric begins at the crack of dawn, with tedious makeup sessions long before shooting begins.
Everything seems harder. Leg's not snapping back like it was. Goddamn clothes back.
But the toughest thing of all for an untrained actor is just remembering lines. And Eric is in every scene of the movie.
Leg's not snapping back like it was. Goddamn cough's back. Now I've got these pains in my chest. That's all I need to know. And then the stuff that he says is all just explained. It all says itself. It's okay.
One of Eric's first tests will be working with the cast of the entire Fox family. A suburban home in Toronto, remarkably similar to the real Fox home in British Columbia, will serve as the location.
So what's this offer?
Oh, it's nice of the Crown Prince to drop in.
Sorry about that, Ma. I missed my ride.
Bullshit. You were playing one-on-one with Doug.
Shut up, Jerry.
Hey, you. Somebody smells like a locker room.
You hang around a lot of locker rooms, do you?
Thanks.
Dad! In these earlier scenes, I mean, certainly before the cancer and all the rest of it, he's a young kid. He's involved with himself. He's having a good time, which is as it should be. And then later on, a lot of that is gone, you know, with his growing sense of purpose about what he wants to do, and a lot of selflessness comes into it after a point. You know, it's a difference between not having a goal and having an enormous goal.
It's strange that when Terry died, I cried, and then I thought of Terry's father, because he did not get an awful lot of publicity. He didn't seem to be the type of man that was in the forefront of all the activity. And I thought of him and what he was going through and how it related to my own situation with my sons being healthy. And I said to myself, someday they're going to make a film, and I'm going to play Terry's father.
Watch out, okay. Watch out.
You'll raise your up again, you big jerk.
Whoa! I got you.
Anyone got into this?
Go get him, Roy.
Yeah, I think the whole family was and is still fairly close. And while they don't always show it, they always fight with each other or insult each other. But I think that's just on the surface. I think really deep down they have a great love for each other.
It wasn't easy for Terry to get back to his old self after his amputation. Wheelchair basketball helped his confidence a lot. And so did a girl named Rika Noda.
Look, you want to play a little one-on-one?
Oh,
in the movie, she is played by Rosalind Chow.
Like the first day I came up here for rehearsals, I just got off the plane and they said, you're going out to dinner with Eric Fryer tonight. And our first meeting was very similar to the script. It was real funny because he was there. We were both real nervous about it ahead of time.
You are pretty good at this.
I've done it before.
Thanks a lot.
And I remember once watching Different Strokes, and Arnold's teacher was Oriental, and she just had I just got a glimpse of her because she had a very short part, but I kind of took a second look and I thought, hey, she looks young and she's Oriental, and I thought, she kind of, in a way, looks like me. I bet she'd be I thought she'd be a good person to play my part. That was the only person I ever saw that would, and strangely enough, they picked the same person to play my part. I thought that was so unusual, or what a coincidence that they, but then again, she was probably the only Oriental my age then.
I feel in this role, I'm a real person. You know, I'm somebody who really did exist. And, I mean, most characters, they exist if you make them exist for you. But this, I feel like I'm playing so close to myself that, in a way, that's harder to do.
Look, what's your name?
Rika.
Mine's Terry Fox.
I know.
Look, on Friday nights, I don't do too much. How about you?
Not much.
Well, maybe we could do it together. I mean, I don't know, maybe go to dinner or... Rika, would you go out with me?
No. Of course I would.
You would?
Sure.
Well, I'm glad they're making a movie because it will kind of give everyone an overall picture of what happened. Right now, I think everyone's got a kind of image of this statue, Terry, and he's almost like some sort of a saint to them, you know, this courageous young man that da-da-da-da. But at the same time, I think people should know the kind of person he was, the humanness of him. He was so human, and it was, I think people would, I mean, people love him now, but if they knew what he was really like, I think that's a more, they would love him more, I think.
What's the matter, Terry? Hey.
I think we ought to break it off for a little while.
I don't get it.
Look, you don't understand. Can't think of anything but this run.
I don't care. I'm not jealous of the run. Look, I'll go with you on the run.
Rika, you don't understand. I don't want to think of anybody else.
St. John's, Newfoundland, is where it all began for Terry when he dipped his foot into the Atlantic Ocean. So coming here is something the cast and crew have been looking forward to for weeks.
The reason you come to Newfoundland, the reason we would come all the way here rather than somewhere else, is because this is the one place in the film where the background, the landscape, the pictures are not just background. They're the foreground of the story. The story is about that little guy running against this landscape or this, the geography that's beautiful and violent and scary, and can he make it or not? I mean, it's all here. It's not in Montreal. It's not in Toronto. It's here. It's so different from the whole look up to now.
The director of photography for the Terry Fox story is Richard Chupka. As the DOP, he is responsible for the overall look of the movie.
Well, Newfoundland is, first of all, it's great landscape, great scenery, as you can see here. And what's really nice about it is the light. We get this foggy, sort of very diffuse lighting, which we got in Northern Ontario. And it's as wet as Northern Ontario. But it's really very, the contrast, you know, there's no contrast and sort of very muted colors and stuff. So a very big difference in terms visually from everything else we've done in the film.
I'm told that he went out early in the morning, the day he started running, to Cape Spear and dipped his foot out there. It would be impossible for us to dip Eric's foot out there, as it so happens, although it's just down the coast here, about a quarter of a mile or something. I guess the day he came by, it was a nice, peaceful North Atlantic, and it ain't. It's not as bad today as it was the other day. I mean, it was unbelievable. These waves are coming in at 10, 15 feet. And even standing up there, you had the sense that they were going to come and grab you and haul you away.
We drove out to Butterpot, which is about 120, 130 kilometers away. And we're all complaining about, you know, gee whiz, this is a long drive. I wonder we should come here to shoot for an hour. And you realize that it took this kid 5 days to get to Butterpot. And then it really, those kind of things, those kind of realizations when you're preparing a picture like this, it really hits home.
Accompanying Terry on the Marathon of Hope was his best friend, Doug Alward, played by Michael Zolliker.
That was more than a goddamn mile.
I couldn't pull over back there. Listen, you can't take a rest now. We're behind schedule. There are people waiting up ahead.
What are you trying to do to me? You keep pushing me like this, and I'm not going to make it.
I'm not pushing you. Look, we'll cancel if you want. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Just get lost.
Well, they had a fight that started, I think, the first day of the run and lasted for 1,000 miles, which meant it lasted for 50, 60 days, almost 2 months. You know, they got to the point where they wouldn't talk to each other. Got to the point where Doug wouldn't step out of the van to give him a glass of water. When Terry ran up, Doug would just have his arm out with a cup in it, and he'd be pretending to read a novel. He was asked, you know, what was the novel you read? He couldn't even remember what novel it was. I mean, he'd never read it, but he was just so furious he didn't want to let Terry think that he was going to give him anything.
You just don't give a damn, do ya?
You're the one who doesn't give a damn, you selfish bastard. Treat me like some dumb flunky. Where's my sock? Where's my chocolate bar? What's this thing floating in my water? Where's the million people gathered around ready to kiss my feet? You don't give a damn about anyone but yourself.
You don't know what I'm going through out there, do ya?
This is just one big ego trip for you.
And you know, sometimes I don't know whether I'm going to make it.
Well, I don't give a damn whether you make it or not.
And what's most interesting about the scene we're about to shoot is we shot the scene just previous to it about 4 weeks ago in Toronto, and here we are in Newfoundland. And early on in the run, I guess there was some discrepancy as to what Doug's chores were. And so there was some arguments about it. And as you'll see in the movie, there's a fairly vigorous fight between Terry and Doug.
Okay, and roll them.
Ready.
418, take one.
Nobody moves out here with their nylon, please.
Okay, and Frank. Act!
Okay. I promised I'd drive, so I'll drive. 1 mile at a time. But that's all I'm doing for you anymore.
Eric and I guess, we were both trying to remember what it was like 4 weeks ago to hate each other, because we've been kind of loving each other for the last few.
the day before he started in Newfoundland, I got my boss, Harry Rowland, just came in and threw a letter on my desk and said there's a kid out in Newfoundland going to run across Canada with one leg, see what we can do for him.
Few people got to form as close a relationship with Terry Fox as Cancer Society representative Bill Viggers. In the role, Robert Duvall, acclaimed for his performance in Apocalypse Now and The Great Santini, is faced with yet another challenge.
I mean, it's pathetic. I ran 100 miles and raised $35. All right, I got a plan. Now, 4 months ago, you were just an item on page 47 of the Toronto Star. Yesterday, your picture was on page 8. And by the time we cross the Ottawa River, you could be national news. What I'm trying to say is we can't reach the Ontario border until June 27th. Look, I've got my stride up now. Everything's working for me good. And you said you were going to run around my schedule. Well, do you want to run or raise money?
When you do play a real person, I mean, it's existing now when you're existing. You may or may not, and in this case, I've had the opportunity of talking with a real person, and you can gather certain data that is certainly helpful in your portrayal of a part. And in this case, you know, I talk with Bill Vickers, but not that much. I'm still kind of playing it fictional, you know, because I don't know all the ins and outs of everything.
What do you say? He's an excellent actor. Have to keep in perspective, though. He's Robert Duvall and Bill Viggers.
Like an awful lot of actors won't give anything to another actor when they're playing off camera. But he works all the time to keep, you know, Eric on top of it, to keep him fresh. He throws him off balance a little bit so they make sure that he's reacting and that he's thinking and that he's involved in the scene. Because, you know, when you do a thing over and over and over again, it's very easy to kind of fall into a rote. So he'll shift things on him all of a sudden, which will bring him up, and which brings that kind of, you know, much stronger reaction.
Rehearse it from here. Okay. Shaking the hand.
How you doing, Harry? I'm Bill Viggers.
You guys from the Cancer Society from Toronto, eh?
Yeah, go all night to meet you.
I think the film company's gone out of their way to provide the facts as accurate, and I think that would be extremely important to Terry. He was, it was so important for him that everything be the truth, that he run every single step of the way, that there was no shortcuts. The first example I saw that in Montreal, where he had to run ahead and then come back and cover some area that he didn't, and he went over and touched the signpost. And the next day when he's finished where he had to finish, he went over and touched the same signpost. He never wanted anybody to say he didn't cover the distance.
Did you read this one? He only ran 150 of 700 miles from Gaspé to Montreal, did the rest by van, because Quebecers showed no interest in it. And yesterday they said I was bleeding all over the place.
You were.
Harry, you're not running for the goddamn newspapers, or for the TV, or for the sponsors in the fancy suits. Doesn't matter what they say, it's your run. You're running for all those guys you're in the hospital with, and for the guys who are still there now. You run for the millions who believe in what you're doing, not for the jerks who don't.
You know, anything you can conceive in your imagination has got to happen in reality. And I imagine there's somebody somewhere in Canada, in this country, who wasn't for Terry Fox when he actually ran in reality. I mean, that's the negative aspect. One of the negative aspects of the world is that. I mean, there's probably somebody somewhere. And the scene corresponds with that, in that some people doubted what he was doing at first. And I'm trying to reassure him that what he's doing is beautiful, which it was and is. You know, we're doing it here. In reality, it was a great thing.
Look, Terry, you may not understand this, but I love you. It's crazy working for the Cancer Society. I don't even know what cancer is.
I love that one day, the director says, "Now, would you face this way a little bit?" So he said, well, Ralph, you got me doing 100 things. What else do you want me to do? Was that Gettysburg Address? Anything else? So the kid's got a lot of spunk, which is helping him carry, which I'm sure Terry Fox had a lot of terrific spunk.
We're rolling. Action on the runners, please.
One of the most visually stunning scenes in the movie is a dream Terry Fox has about running in a marathon. A dream that may have been the inspiration for the Marathon of Hope itself.
What a shot. Well, perfect timing.
In preparation for the scene, 60 extras are dressed to look like marathoners.
We're trying to get a translucent effect for a dream sequence. Rather where they're not quite like ghosts, but a non-real person amid Terry who's dreaming and he's the bloom of health and they're sort of more like the clouds. So we want a see-through skin effect, basically.
With the marathoners almost in position, First Assistant Director Bill Corcoran gives last-minute instructions to the extras.
Guys, what we'll do on this time is we'll have a camera on a mount there that's called a Steadicam. It will be the running point of view of our lead in the picture. As you feel him passing you, the camera, it's one of the few times where you can turn and look around and look right into the lens of the camera. That is a runner, okay? That's a runner who's beating you all in this race. We want to see that. We want to see the expression on your face.
They're going to be looking back at me as I go past
as you go by.
Final discussions also take place between Ralph Thomas, Richard Chupka, and Ted Churchill.
All right, we should, I have to tell the AD to make sure they don't hit this. That's the only thing.
Around you and out of your way. But don't impede his progress. And as I say, we won't be going as quickly as we did on those first takes.
And when he gets past them, as he passes them, they can drop off because...
As he passes you...
Oh, no, they can't. They've got to keep going.
They shouldn't overtake him, that's
They
all.
should not overtake him.
You should not overtake the camera at any time, okay? Once the camera has passed you, let him stay in front of you. Action, boys!
Unlike a standard camera, which has an eyepiece, with the Steadicam, the operator monitors the action through a small TV screen. His run, Terry met all sorts of different characters. A peg-legged chicken farmer is one of them, played by TV host and journalist Patrick Watson.
The interesting thing that's going to happen is that people will forget what Terry Fox looks like. Eric is going to become Terry Fox in the iconography of this story. I was out of the country most of the time during that episode, and I viewed it from a distance with a little bit of cynicism. I thought, gee, the press having a whale of a time with this one. And you know, I don't think I really became as moved by the story. I don't think I really became moved at all by the story until I read the screenplay for this thing. And I expected not to be moved by it, and I ended up crying through the last 10 pages and having to get a Kleenex so I could read the part.
Hey! You go get him, baby! You can do it! You son of a bitch!
That's a cut. First position, please. Watch the water. Release traffic.
Terry's younger brother, Darryl, is played by Chris Makepeace, star of Meatballs and My Bodyguard.
They first approached me about doing this movie. I came in to audition for the role of Terry Fox, and I read with Ralph Thomas, and they realized that the problems of using a two-legged actor to play Terry Fox.
You cut off your leg?
No, I wasn't willing to cut off my leg, and so the problems involved would just be too great. They'd have to just shoot me above the waist and then get an amputee to do just below the waist, and that wouldn't be too convincing for the audience.
In the scene to be shot, Terry and Darryl, who haven't seen each other in weeks, meet on the crest of a hill.
You know, you're running in almost to grab him, and then you stop, and then it goes. You know what I mean? It's a little shadow box.
Okay.
It's an emotional scene. in which director Ralph Thomas intends to get the most from Eric and Chris.
Okay, now can you swing on that?
Can I swing on this?
Yeah, I saw you swing the other day.
Yeah, I can swing on it.
Okay. Because I'm going to be dolling around, but I don't...
Yeah. Yeah? Okay.
Technically, it is also a tricky scene. To create the shot, a dolly track is being built to allow the camera to make a complete circle around the actors.
They're doing a 360-degree dolly shot around Terry Fox and his brother Daryl after they meet. And this is this set that we're using right now is supposed to be New Brunswick, and this is where they first meet in the film.
Special care has to be taken so that the track is even all around. A slight bump in the track will also mean a bump in the picture.
How we look, guys? Everything packed? On action? Yeah, right on action. Start to roll. Thank you.
When the track is ready, Ralph gives the go-ahead for rehearsals to begin.
Stand by, rehearsal. Everybody quiet. Okay. Quiet, please, fellas. Here we go. Rehearsal. Action!
Daryl, what are you doing here?
Okay, let's lose the truck, please. Everybody who doesn't have to be here, we're going to have to lose. Final touch-ups, everyone.
Cinematically, it should be an exciting sequence. But only the performances of Eric and Chris can make the scene really come alive.
But an actor's instrument is his body, is his personality, his own psychological makeup. That's what he uses. He uses all of himself. He doesn't use a piano or a paintbrush. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are so fascinated with actors. People stare at that image on the screen, and it's the human face that really, really appeals to people in a movie.
Daryl, what are you doing here? Hey, man, how you doing?
So glad to see you. There's a rise here already with people.
Just as technical demands put pressure on the crew, recreating a speech Terry gave in Nova Scotia will stretch Eric's ability as an actor to the limit.
It's a scene where, first of all, in terms of length, it's long. Secondly, it's one where he literally he cries on camera, and it's not just the crying, it's the feeling of it.
But the big question is, can Eric come through in front of a crowd of extras?
Basic things to know, when you say first position, you know, that's your starting point, and if you walk across the other side or you walk behind somebody, that's your end position. So you always remember where you start and where you finish, okay?
He'll be giving a very moving and emotional speech during this, and we want everybody to pay attention to him. Very little movement across here.
Gary, why don't you stand behind the mic, please? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, everybody paying attention to Terry Fox, please. Everybody looking around. Okay, ready?
Right.
Action.
I bet some of you out there feel sorry for me. Well, don't. This artificial leg has its advantages. Broke my right knee a few times, never felt a thing. What I need to say is the most important part of this run is that cancer can be beaten. And when you're out there cheering and clapping me, you're not just cheering and clapping for me. There's also someone else in this run with me. My friend Doug. He's helping me. Some days when everything seems a little too much, the last 12 miles feels like the hardest thing in the world to me. I bitch at Doug because he's the only one there I can bitch at. It's just not fair to him.
Eric went deep inside himself to whatever happened to him when he had cancer and the rage and whoever he took it out on. And it was incredible, and we did what you don't do when you shoot a film. Usually you shoot a film, you go wide on a place like this, and you know, you have your crowds there, you go close up. We began with a close up. We didn't rehearse. The first shot, we said, okay, Eric, go. And it was incredible. I mean, you speak to the continuity lady here. Ask her what happened. When I saw her, the tears were just rolling down. It's just times like that. It sounds a little bit funny to say, but it's times like that. It doesn't happen all the time, where you say to yourself, this is not just a movie.
When Terry arrived in Toronto, the Marathon of Hope had become a dream much bigger than even he had imagined. Recreating his run down University Avenue and his emotional reception at City Hall will be the biggest challenge yet for the cast and crew.
Everybody move down this way, please.
Right down here, folks.
A lot of preparation goes into a day such as this. Planning starts many months beforehand and continues right up to the last minute.
Things are going very well this morning. We've got about 600 people out here now, and it's a half an hour before they're supposed to be here, so we expect about 1,500 just along this one block. And it didn't rain, it was supposed to. So I think we're all smiling. We've had a few problems, but it seems to be sorting itself out. We start filming at 1.
I'd like 5 of you to be on one side and 5 on the other, moving in and out of the crowd and coming inside to collect money from our 50 people. Now, Bradley is going to line up the 50 people and start working with them. Dan, who is here, is our property master, and he will be taking over now from me and giving you boxes for the collection.
It's a day when every crew member has his work cut out.
Okay.
We'll actually be giving these posters back. We'll be saying, when we're on the move to Nathan Phillips Square, is the time you've got to give us our prop money and signs back.
Well, this is unbelievable, the turnout of the people to come out for this. It's going to be interesting to watch this. I just said to somebody, it was a heck of a lot easier the first time.
There's a trustworthy person from quarantine.
Keys.
You make sure this gets back to Dan, the prop man.
Dan? Okay.
Yes, shout for him. We really need it back, okay?
We could use a couple of rooms over here. It's possible.
What's happening is the caravan, you see parts of it here, it'll be a different order, but you see parts of it will be coming down in a parade down University. There will be people who will be taking donations from you. We have props people. Once I set you up in the street, props people will come by and give you funny money. And I don't mean our money or the Americans' money, but prop money. That doesn't mean anything. So don't put it in your pocket because it's not worth anything anywhere but here.
Though there are no lines of dialogue that are required from the actors today, the big turnout is enough to make anyone nervous.
It's funny because I was speaking to Eric earlier this morning, and he's quite nervous about doing the run. Like, you know, he often spoke about nerves about, you know, when you'd have big dialogue scenes, but today there's no dialogue at all, and today he's really nervous because he's got to run so far, and it's mostly because he's going to be in front of so many people, I think.
Well, the preparation of Eric is actually, you know, that's a long, long, continuous process. We've been working together now for, what, 3.5 months? And we've been rehearsing for 3.5 months. And we've been talking about this thing for 3.5 months. So that when it comes to today, you know, I say, you know, this is what it's about. He says, yeah, I know what it's about. That's basically it.
Andy? Yes, sir. Maybe it would be better for me to switch this camera over here and let him go on his study profile.
With 4 camera crews, a limited amount of time, and thousands of people to control, everything has to go like clockwork.
It's very important for the safety of everybody that you're up on the curb. Another note. Be very careful when you fall in behind. We do not want a big crowd scene. We don't want people trampled. I don't want a whole group of people in a huge mob in behind there tripping over each other.
Finally, when everything is ready, the cameras roll.
produce, you got to be lucky. And we were lucky. The skies are clear. The skies match exactly the day that Terry ran. There are thousands of people here. And last night I couldn't sleep a wink.
Well, Billy, the AD, says that I'm the luckiest director he's ever met when it comes to weather. We've worked together on 2 films now, and he says the weather breaks for me about 90%. I don't know if that's true or not, but sure was good today.
If it had rained, what would have happened? I would have been a bit surprised. That's what I expected. That's how I operate, that nothing's going to work. And I wouldn't have been surprised, and I wouldn't have had a fit, because I had the fit a few days ago. And I would have said that's par for the course, and we hired 50 extras, and we would have moved them along. We would have taken 50 people and inched Eric along, stopped the camera, and put another 50 along and another 50 along. It would have been the same 50 20 times. And it wouldn't have been great, but we would have struggled through it.
With the shooting completed on University Avenue, the cast, crew, and cameras shift to the City Hall location at Nathan Phillips Square.
The filming today will commence down by the parasol, where we will replicate with Eric Fryer the run into Nathan Phillips Square. Then we will bring him up to the stage, and we will recreate that when Terry addressed the crowd here July the 11th, 1980.
It is here where Terry received a hero's welcome as he ran down a rope corridor to meet his parents and the thousands who cheered him on.
Back up a little bit, make it a beautiful, nice, symmetrical, nice line all the way to that thing down there. We paid all that money for. Okay, right back, please.
With more crowds at the City Hall location, Director Ralph Thomas has even greater potential problems.
You have to obviously decide what the reality was from talking to people, from your own experience, and then you go at that. You try and recreate that. You can't hunt around all day and say, is that right, is that right, is that right? I mean, because you got 4 camera crews and 4 cameras and thousands of people and dolly track to lay and all that sort of stuff to do and lights to put up and all that stuff's got to work together, and you don't have any time to check anything out. So you've got to decide how it's going to happen, and you go ahead and do it. And you hope you're right.
704, take 1, B camera marker. A camera marker.
Frame offset on all 4 cameras. Action crew, go to check!
All these people? Now, do you think I'm gonna make it?
What kind of a question is that? I always knew you'd make it. You've got to make it.
When you look down and see him running down that corridor of people and the mob that's there, this strange feeling comes over you. It's just an individual. And it's a cross between wanting to burst with laughter and pride and wanting to cry.
An awful lot of stuff that I see around me nowadays and that even sometimes I'm approached to do is a downer. And this is not a downer. I mean, there are very sad and tragic elements in it. I mean, here you're involved in something where someone did something extraordinary. And yet you can identify with him because he wasn't a saint. He was a real human being who made a decision to do something out of the ordinary. And he did it. And he's an inspiration.
The whole country rallied around Terry Fox when he actually did the run. And if the movie is true to that run, and I believe it will be, I think the people who see it will be affected in a very positive way.
He had so many faults or problems that everyone else had, very common. And I think it will inspire a lot of people to kind of look at themselves and say, hey, you know, that's like me. You know, he wasn't, you know, out of the ordinary. You know, I'm like that too, and I want those things too, and I desire those things, and, you know, I have the same kind of feelings.
A lot of people describe him as a hero, and I think it's true in the sense of the word about the accomplishment he made, and also for the fact what he did for our country, which really brought it together. And I think Canada needed a hero, and his timing was just about right.
Tonight, it's Friday night football on CTV as the Argonauts take on the Alouettes, local blackouts. Then Sunday in baseball, California takes on Toronto in exciting Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Also Sunday, CTV's W5 investigates alcohol abuse in the National Hockey League. This is the CTV Television Network.